Veteran adopts stray dog with familiar scar, then learns the heartbreaking truth. The wind whipped across the vast Montana plains, whistling through the tall grass and rattling the windows of Jack's secluded ranch house. Inside, a fire crackled in the hearth, casting a warm glow over the rustic living room. Jack, a Vietnam War veteran in his late 70s, sat in his worn armchair, a steaming mug of coffee in his hand. His gaze drifted towards the window, his eyes reflecting the melancholy of the gray sky outside. Jack's weathered face bore the marks of a life lived, etched with lines that spoke of both hardship and resilience. His silver hair was neatly combed, and his blue eyes, though dimmed by time, still held a spark of the youthful soldier he once was. But beneath the calm exterior, a storm raged within him, a constant battle with the ghosts of his past. The Vietnam War had left an indelible mark on Jack's soul. The memories of the jungle, the deafening explosions, the cries of fallen comrades, haunted his waking hours and invaded his dreams. He carried the weight of survivors' guilt, the burden of those who never made it back home. His only solace was Buster, his loyal golden retriever. Buster had been his constant companion for the past 10 years, a furry guardian angel who sensed Jack's moods and offered unconditional love. Buster's presence was a calming balm on Jack's troubled soul, a lifeline in the sea of his loneliness. But time, that relentless force, had taken its toll on Buster. The once energetic dog had slowed down, his gait stiff, his muzzle graying. Jack knew that Buster's time was drawing near, and the thought filled him with dread. One crisp autumn morning, Jack awoke to find Buster lying motionless on his dog bed. He rushed to his side, his heart pounding with fear. He gently stroked Buster's fur, whispering words of comfort, but the dog didn't respond. Buster's eyes, once bright and full of life, were now glazed over. Jack's world crumbled around him. He had lost his best friend, his confidant, the one creature who truly understood him. The silence in the house was deafening, a stark reminder of his solitude. He buried Buster under his favorite oak tree, a place where they had spent countless hours together, playing fetch and enjoying the tranquility of the Montana landscape. As he placed a simple wooden cross on Buster's grave, tears streamed down his face, a mixture of grief and a profound sense of loss. He returned to the empty house, the silence now unbearable. The echoes of Buster's barks, the patter of his paws, the warmth of his presence, were all gone, leaving a void that ached in Jack's heart. He tried to distract himself with chores, with reading, with anything to keep his mind occupied. But the memories of Buster kept flooding back, each one a sharp pang of grief. Days turned into weeks, and the weight of his loneliness grew heavier. Jack felt adrift, lost in a sea of sorrow. The ghosts of the past, once kept at bay by Buster's presence, now crept closer, their whispers growing louder. He knew he couldn't go on like this. He needed to find a way to cope, to heal, to find a new purpose in life. But where could he turn? Who could understand the depths of his grief, the scars that ran deeper than any physical wound? As he sat by the fire that evening, staring into the flames, a flicker of hope ignited within him. He remembered a stray dog he had seen wandering near the ranch a few days ago. The dog had looked lost and lonely, much like himself. Perhaps, just perhaps, this was a sign, a chance to open his heart again, to find a new companion on his journey of healing. The next morning, a sense of purpose stirred within Jack. He brewed a pot of coffee, the familiar aroma filling the quiet house. As he sipped his coffee, he thought about the stray dog. He remembered its timid demeanor, its wary eyes, and a flicker of empathy ignited within him. He decided to go looking for the dog. He bundled up in his warmest coat, pulled on his boots, and stepped out into the crisp morning air. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a golden hue over the snow-dusted landscape. He walked towards the area where he had seen the dog, his eyes scanning the fields and the treeline. He called out, his voice echoing in the stillness, but there was no response. He continued his search, his determination growing with each step. He felt a connection to this lost creature, a shared sense of loneliness and vulnerability. He imagined the dog wandering alone, cold and hungry, and his heart ached with compassion. After hours of searching, he finally spotted the dog huddled under a bush, its fur matted with snow. It looked up at Jack with wary eyes, its tail tucked between its legs. Jack approached slowly, speaking in a soft, reassuring voice. "Hey there, fella," he said gently. "Are you lost?" The dog remained motionless, its gaze fixed on Jack. It seemed hesitant, unsure whether to trust the stranger. Jack knelt down, extending his hand slowly. "It's okay," he said softly. "I won't hurt you." The dog cautiously approached, sniffing Jack's hand tentatively. It then licked his hand, a gesture of trust that warmed Jack's heart. He gently stroked the dog's fur, feeling the bones beneath its thin coat. The dog leaned into his touch, its tail wagging hesitantly. Jack knew he couldn't leave the dog out in the cold. He coaxed it to follow him, promising warmth and food. The dog hesitated for a moment, then followed him with a hopeful gait. As they walked back to the ranch, Jack felt a sense of purpose returning to him. He had a new companion, a new responsibility. He would take care of this dog, give it a home, and perhaps, in doing so, heal a part of himself. He led the dog into the house, the warmth of the fire welcoming them. He prepared a bowl of warm milk and some leftover meat, watching as the dog devoured the food with gusto. As he watched the dog eat, he noticed a distinctive scar on its leg, a jagged line that ran from its knee to its paw. The scar looked strangely familiar, triggering a memory deep within Jack's mind. He knelt down and examined the scar closely, his heart pounding with a strange mix of curiosity and apprehension. The scar was identical to one he had received during the war, a shrapnel wound that had nearly cost him his leg. A wave of disbelief washed over him. How could this stray dog have a scar so similar to his own? Was it just a coincidence? Or was there something more to this encounter? He looked at the dog, its eyes now filled with trust and gratitude. He felt a connection to this creature, a bond that went beyond mere companionship. He knew he had to learn more about this dog, about its past, about the story behind its scar. He decided to name the dog Lucky, a symbol of hope and resilience. He felt a glimmer of optimism returning to him, a sense that this unexpected encounter might be the beginning of a new chapter in his life. The days that followed were a whirlwind of adjustment for both Jack and Lucky. The once quiet ranch house was now filled with the sounds of playful barks and the clatter of dog toys. Lucky, initially timid and reserved, gradually came out of his shell, exploring his new surroundings with a cautious curiosity. Jack found himself drawn to Lucky's gentle nature and resilient spirit. He spent hours playing fetch in the fields, taking long walks through the woods, and simply sitting by the fire, watching Lucky doze contentedly. The dog's presence filled a void in Jack's heart, easing the ache of loneliness and offering a sense of companionship he hadn't felt since Buster's passing. However, Lucky's past remained a mystery. The distinctive scar on his leg, a constant reminder of an unknown trauma, intrigued and troubled Jack. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was a deeper connection between them, a shared experience that went beyond their recent encounter. One afternoon, while grooming Lucky, Jack noticed the dog flinch as he brushed near the scar. He paused, his heart aching for the unseen pain Lucky carried. He gently examined the scar, tracing its jagged path with his fingers. It was a gunshot wound, that much was clear. But how had Lucky sustained such an injury, and what other traumas had he endured? Determined to learn more, Jack decided to seek help from Dr. Emily Carter, the local veterinarian. Dr. Carter, a kind and compassionate woman with a love for animals, listened attentively as Jack recounted his encounter with Lucky and described the mysterious scar. She carefully examined Lucky, her gentle touch calming the dog's anxieties. "It's definitely a gunshot wound," she confirmed, her voice grave. "It appears to be well healed, but it must have been a traumatic experience for him." Jack nodded, his suspicions confirmed. Do you think it's possible to trace his history, perhaps find his previous owner? He asked hopefully. Dr. Carter smiled. It's not always easy, she said, but we can try. He might have a microchip, and if not, we can check with local shelters and rescue organizations. Someone might recognize him. A surge of hope coursed through Jack. He felt a renewed determination to uncover Lucky's past, believing it held the key to understanding and healing the dog's trauma. He thanked Dr. Carter and left the clinic, his heart filled with a mix of anticipation and apprehension. Back at the ranch, he looked at Lucky, who was chasing butterflies in the meadow, his tail wagging joyfully. Jack couldn't help but smile. Despite his unknown past, Lucky had found a sense of peace and happiness in his new home. And Jack, in turn, had found a renewed sense of purpose in caring for this resilient creature. He knew the journey ahead might be difficult, filled with uncertainties and perhaps painful discoveries. But he was determined to follow the trail, to unravel the mystery of Lucky's past, and to help his new companion find true healing and happiness. He felt a deep connection to Lucky, a bond forged not only through their shared present, but also through the whispers of a shared past. The search for Lucky's past became Jack's new mission. He started by visiting local animal shelters and rescue organizations, showing them pictures of Lucky and describing his distinctive scar. He also posted flyers in town, hoping someone would recognize the dog. Days turned into weeks, and the leads were few and far between. Most people had never seen Lucky before, and those who had offered vague descriptions and uncertain timelines. Jack felt a growing frustration, but he refused to give up. He felt a responsibility towards Lucky, a need to understand the dog's past in order to help him heal. One afternoon, while checking his mailbox, he found a crumpled note with a scribbled address and a simple message. "I think I know your dog." His heart leaped with hope. Could this be the breakthrough he had been waiting for? He followed the directions on the note, which led him to a modest house on the outskirts of a neighboring town. He knocked on the door, his hand trembling with anticipation. A middle-aged woman answered the door, her face etched with worry. "You're looking for the dog, aren't you?" she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack nodded, his heart pounding. "Yes, the one with the scar on his leg. Do you know him?" The woman sighed. "His name is Lucky," she said, her eyes welling up with tears. "He belonged to my son, Michael." Jack's breath caught in his throat. He had found Lucky's owner, but the woman's sadness hinted at a tragic story. "Michael was a soldier," she continued, her voice trembling. "He served in Afghanistan. He came back different. He had nightmares, flashbacks. He couldn't cope." Jack listened intently, his own war experiences resonating with the woman's words. He understood the invisible wounds of war, the scars that ran deeper than any physical injury. "Lucky was Michael's therapy dog," the woman explained. "He helped Michael through some dark times. They were inseparable." A wave of understanding washed over Jack. He finally understood the source of Lucky's trauma, the reason for his fear and anxiety. He had been through a war of his own, a silent battle fought alongside his human companion. "What happened to Michael?" Jack asked gently, dreading the answer. The woman's voice cracked. He took his own life," she said, tears streaming down her face. "We couldn't keep Lucky after that. It was too painful. We gave him to a shelter, hoping he would find a good home." Jack's heart ached for the woman, for her loss, for the pain that radiated from her every word. He also felt a profound sense of responsibility towards Lucky, a need to honor the memory of the soldier who had loved him and the bond they had shared. He thanked the woman for sharing her story and left the house, his mind reeling from the revelation. He looked at Lucky, who was waiting patiently in the truck, his tail wagging gently. He saw a reflection of Michael in Lucky's eyes, a shared experience of trauma and loss. He knew he had a long road ahead, a journey of healing and understanding. But he was no longer alone. He had Lucky by his side, a fellow survivor, a silent witness to the invisible wounds of war. And together, they would face the shadows, find solace in their shared past, and forge a new path towards healing and hope. The revelation of Lucky's past opened a floodgate of memories for Jack. He found himself transported back to the jungles of Vietnam, the humid air heavy with the scent of decay and gunpowder. He saw the faces of his fellow soldiers, young men barely out of their teens, their eyes filled with fear and determination. He heard the deafening roar of helicopters, the staccato bursts of gunfire, the screams of the wounded. He remembered the day he received his scar, a searing pain that ripped through his leg as shrapnel tore through his flesh. He remembered the fear, the helplessness, the feeling of being utterly alone in a world of chaos. He remembered the camaraderie, the bond forged in the crucible of war, the unspoken understanding between men who had faced death together. He remembered the laughter, the shared jokes, the moments of respite amidst the horrors of combat. He remembered the loss, the empty bunks, the dog tags hanging on a makeshift memorial, the faces of those who would never return home. He remembered the guilt, the survivor's burden, the question that haunted him. Why them and not me? He saw himself in Michael, Lucky's previous owner, a young soldier grappling with the invisible wounds of war. He understood the nightmares, the flashbacks, the isolation, the struggle to find peace in a world that seemed to have moved on. He felt a profound sense of responsibility towards Lucky, a need to help him heal, to guide him through the darkness, just as he wished someone had guided him. He knew that Lucky's trauma mirrored his own, that they were both survivors of a war that had left its mark on their souls. He started spending more time with Lucky, sharing quiet moments in the fields, talking to him about his experiences, about the fear, the loss, the guilt. He knew Lucky couldn't understand his words, but he felt a need to express himself, to share his burden with a creature who had witnessed similar horrors. He also began incorporating elements of his own therapy into Lucky's routine. He took him on long walks, exposing him to different environments and sounds, gradually desensitizing him to the triggers that caused his anxiety. He taught him new commands, giving him a sense of purpose and control. He showered him with affection, offering him the unconditional love and support he craved. Slowly, Lucky began to respond. He became less fearful, more trusting. He started wagging his tail more often, his eyes regaining their sparkle. He would lean against Jack, seeking comfort and reassurance. Jack, in turn, felt a sense of healing washing over him. He found solace in caring for Lucky, in helping him overcome his trauma. He realized that by helping Lucky, he was also helping himself, confronting his own demons and finding a path towards peace. The ghosts of the jungle still haunted him, but their whispers were fainter now, their grip less firm. He had found a new purpose in life, a new companion on his journey of healing. And in Lucky's eyes, he saw a reflection of his own resilience, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for recovery and renewal. As winter tightened its grip on Montana, Jack and Lucky found solace in their shared routine. The days were short, the nights long, and the snow piled high, but the ranch house was a haven of warmth and companionship. The fire crackled in the hearth, casting dancing shadows on the walls, while Jack and Lucky curled up on the rug, their bodies radiating a comforting heat. Jack continued to delve into his past, sharing stories with Lucky about his wartime experiences. He spoke of the friends he had lost, the battles he had fought, the fear and the courage that had intertwined in the heart of the jungle. He spoke of the guilt he carried, the burden of survival, the longing for a peace he couldn't seem to find. Lucky listened intently, his head cocked, his eyes reflecting the flickering flames. He couldn't understand the words, but he sensed the emotions behind them, the pain and the longing that resonated in Jack's voice. He would nudge Jack with his nose, offering a silent comfort, a furry shoulder to lean on. In these shared moments, a bridge was built between two worlds, between the human and the canine, between the past and the present. Jack found solace in expressing his emotions, in sharing his burdens with a creature who offered unconditional love and acceptance. Lucky, in turn, found comfort in Jack's presence, in the soothing rhythm of his voice, in the warmth of their shared space. One evening, as a blizzard raged outside, Jack found himself sharing a particularly painful memory with Lucky. He spoke of a close friend, a young medic named Danny, who had been killed by a sniper's bullet just days before they were scheduled to return home. The memory was vivid, the pain still raw, even after all these years. As Jack recounted the story, his voice choked with emotion. Lucky whined softly, his eyes filled with concern. He crawled closer to Jack, resting his head on his lap, as if sensing his grief. Jack wrapped his arms around Lucky, burying his face in his fur. He wept openly, releasing years of pent-up sorrow. Lucky remained still, offering a silent comfort, a steady presence amidst the storm of emotions. In that moment of shared grief, a profound shift occurred within Jack. He felt a release, a lightening of the burden he had carried for so long. He realized that he wasn't alone in his pain, that Lucky, in his own way, understood and shared his grief. The blizzard raged on, but inside the ranch house, a sense of peace settled over Jack. He had found a connection, a bridge between his troubled past and his uncertain present. He had found a companion who offered solace without judgment, a furry friend who helped him navigate the labyrinth of his emotions. As the fire crackled and the snow fell outside, Jack and Lucky remained entwined, their bodies radiating warmth, their hearts beating in unison. They were two souls, scarred by trauma, finding solace in each other's company, building a bridge between their worlds, a bridge of healing and hope. Spring arrived, bringing with it a thaw in the Montana landscape and a renewed sense of hope for Jack. The snow melted, revealing the vibrant green of the emerging grass and the delicate blossoms of wildflowers. The days grew longer, the sun warmer, and the air filled with the sounds of birdsong. Jack felt a shift within himself, a lightness in his step and a newfound clarity in his thoughts. The bond with Lucky had deepened over the winter months, their shared experiences forging a connection that transcended words. He felt a sense of purpose in caring for Lucky, in helping him heal, in sharing the journey of recovery. He decided it was time to take a more proactive approach in uncovering Lucky's past. He wanted to learn more about Michael, the young soldier who had loved and cared for Lucky, the man whose life had been tragically cut short. He felt a responsibility to honor Michael's memory, to understand the bond they had shared, and to ensure that Lucky's legacy lived on. He started by researching online, searching for any information about Michael and his family. He found an obituary, a brief mention of a soldier who had served in Afghanistan and succumbed to the invisible wounds of war. He also found a social media page, filled with pictures of Michael, a handsome young man with a bright smile and a kind heart. He saw pictures of Michael and Lucky together, playing in the park, hiking in the mountains, cuddling on the couch. He saw the love and devotion in Michael's eyes, the unwavering bond between a soldier and his therapy dog. Jack felt a pang of sadness, a deep empathy for the family who had lost their son, for the dog who had lost his companion. He also felt a renewed determination to honor their memory, to ensure that their story was not forgotten. He decided to reach out to Michael's family, hoping to connect with them, to share his experiences with Lucky, and to learn more about their son. He wrote a heartfelt letter, expressing his condolences and his admiration for Michael's service. He also shared his own story, his struggles with PTSD, and the healing he had found through his connection with Lucky. He mailed the letter not knowing what to expect. He hoped for a response, for a chance to connect with Michael's family, to share their grief and their memories. He also feared rejection, the possibility that they might not want to revisit the pain of their loss. Days turned into weeks, and Jack waited anxiously for a reply. He checked the mailbox every day, his heart filled with a mix of hope and apprehension. Finally, one afternoon, he found an envelope addressed to him in unfamiliar handwriting. He tore open the envelope, his hands trembling, and unfolded the letter inside. It was a heartfelt response from Michael's mother, expressing her gratitude for Jack's letter and her willingness to meet with him. She shared her appreciation for Jack's care of Lucky, assuring him that Michael would have been happy to know his beloved dog was in good hands. Jack's heart swelled with emotion. He felt a sense of connection, a shared understanding with Michael's family. He knew that this meeting would be a significant step in his journey of healing, a chance to honor Michael's memory and to further strengthen his bond with Lucky. He arranged a visit with Michael's family, eager to learn more about the young soldier who had touched his life through his loyal companion. He felt a sense of anticipation, a mix of excitement and nervousness, as he prepared for the encounter. He knew that this journey of discovery would lead him deeper into the heart of Lucky's past, and in doing so, would help him further confront his own demons and find a path towards lasting peace. The drive to Michael's family home was a quiet one. Jack, with Lucky beside him in the passenger seat, felt a mix of anticipation and trepidation. He replayed Michael's mother's letter in his mind, her words filled with both grief and gratitude. He wondered what stories they would share, what memories they would unearth, and how this encounter would further illuminate Lucky's past. He found their house nestled in a quiet cul-de-sac, a modest two-story home with a well-maintained garden. As he stepped out of the truck, Lucky followed close behind, his senses alert to the new surroundings. Michael's parents, Sarah and David, greeted him at the door with warm smiles and moist eyes. They welcomed him into their home, the air thick with a lingering sadness, a testament to the loss they had endured. The living room was filled with photographs of Michael, capturing his life from childhood to his military service. Jack saw a vibrant young man, full of life and promise, his smile radiating warmth and kindness. He saw pictures of Michael with Lucky, their bond evident in the joyful expressions and playful interactions. Sarah and David shared stories of Michael, their voices filled with love and pride. They spoke of his childhood dreams, his dedication to service, his compassion for others. They spoke of his struggles upon returning from Afghanistan, the nightmares that plagued him, the invisible wounds that wouldn't heal. They spoke of Lucky, their gratitude for the dog's unwavering companionship, the comfort he had brought to Michael during his darkest hours. They shared anecdotes of Lucky's playful antics, his gentle nature, his unwavering loyalty. Jack listened intently, his heart aching for their loss, his understanding of Lucky deepening with each shared memory. He saw a reflection of his own struggles in Michael's story, a shared experience of trauma and the long road to healing. He shared his own experiences with them, his time in Vietnam, the loss of his comrades, the lingering effects of PTSD. He spoke of his encounter with Lucky, the mysterious scar that had drawn them together, the bond they had forged. He showed them the scar on his own leg, a mirror image of Lucky's, a physical manifestation of their shared history of trauma. Sarah and David gasped, their eyes widening in disbelief. They reached out to touch the scar, their fingers tracing its jagged path, a silent acknowledgement of the invisible wounds that connected them all. As the afternoon wore on, a sense of shared grief and understanding filled the room. Tears were shed, stories were told, and a connection was forged between three souls who had been touched by the tragedy of war. Jack left their home with a heavy heart, but also with a sense of gratitude. He had gained a deeper understanding of Lucky's past, a glimpse into the life of the young soldier who had loved him. He had also found a connection with Michael's parents, a shared experience of loss and a mutual appreciation for the dog who had brought them all together. As he drove back to the ranch, Lucky by his side, Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose. He would honor Michael's memory by caring for Lucky, by helping him heal, by ensuring that his legacy lived on. He would continue his own journey of recovery, drawing strength from the shared experiences of those who had walked a similar path. And he would cherish the bond he had formed with Lucky, a bond that had bridged the gap between their worlds, a bond that had brought healing and hope to their wounded souls. The encounter with Michael's parents had a profound impact on Jack. He felt a deeper connection to Lucky, a greater understanding of the dog's trauma, and a renewed sense of responsibility to help him heal. He also felt a kinship with Sarah and David, a shared bond of grief and a mutual appreciation for the dog who had brought them together. He began incorporating new techniques into Lucky's rehabilitation, drawing on his own experiences with PTSD and the insights he had gained from Michael's parents. He created a structured routine for Lucky, providing him with a sense of predictability and security. He introduced him to new environments gradually, desensitizing him to the triggers that caused his anxiety. He practiced obedience training, giving Lucky a sense of purpose and control. He also continued to share his own experiences with Lucky, talking to him about his fears, his nightmares, his struggles with guilt and loneliness. He found solace in expressing his emotions, in confiding in a creature who offered unconditional love and acceptance. Lucky, in turn, responded to Jack's care with growing trust and affection. He became less fearful, more playful, his tail wagging with increasing frequency. He would often lean against Jack, seeking comfort and reassurance, his warm body a source of solace. One warm spring day, Jack decided to take Lucky to a local park. He had been hesitant to expose Lucky to crowded places, fearing it might trigger his anxiety. But he also knew that Lucky needed to interact with other dogs and people to experience the joy of social interaction. He chose a quiet corner of the park, away from the playground and the bustling crowds. He sat on a bench, watching as Lucky cautiously explored the grassy field, his nose twitching, his tail wagging tentatively. A young boy approached, his eyes wide with curiosity. "Can I pet your dog?" he asked, his voice filled with excitement. Jack hesitated for a moment, gauging Lucky's reaction. Lucky looked at the boy, his tail wagging slowly. He seemed curious but not fearful. "Sure," Jack said, smiling at the boy. "He's friendly." The boy knelt down, extending his hand slowly. Lucky sniffed his hand cautiously, then licked it gently. The boy giggled, his face beaming with delight. He petted Lucky's fur, his touch gentle and reassuring. Lucky leaned into the touch, his eyes closing contentedly. Jack watched with a warmth spreading through his chest. He saw a glimmer of Michael in the boy's innocent interaction with Lucky, a reminder of the dog's capacity for love and healing. Other people approached, drawn by Lucky's gentle demeanor. They petted him, played with him, and showered him with affection. Lucky, once timid and withdrawn, now reveled in the attention, his tail wagging excitedly. Jack felt a surge of pride and gratitude. He had helped Lucky overcome his fears, had guided him towards a path of healing and happiness. He had also found a renewed sense of purpose in his own life, a connection to something larger than himself. As they left the park that day, Jack felt a lightness in his step, a sense of hope blossoming within him. He knew that the journey of healing was far from over, but he also knew that he and Lucky were on the right path, a shared path towards recovery and renewal. They were two souls, scarred by trauma, finding solace in each other's company. Their bond a testament to the enduring power of compassion and resilience. The story of Jack and Lucky spread through the small Montana community, carried on the whispers of the wind and the warm smiles of those who had witnessed their bond. People were touched by their story, by the veteran who had found solace in a stray dog, by the dog who had helped a veteran heal. The local newspaper published an article about them, highlighting their journey of recovery and the power of companionship. The article caught the attention of a nearby veterans support group, who invited Jack and Lucky to attend one of their meetings. Jack was hesitant at first. He had always avoided such gatherings, preferring the solitude of his ranch to the company of strangers. But he also recognized the potential for connection, the opportunity to share his experiences and perhaps offer support to others who were struggling. He decided to attend the meeting with Lucky by his side. He found a room filled with veterans of different ages and backgrounds, each carrying their own invisible wounds, their own stories of trauma and resilience. He shared his story with them, his voice trembling at times, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. He spoke of his wartime experiences, his struggles with PTSD, his isolation and despair. He spoke of his encounter with Lucky, the mysterious scar that had drawn them together, the bond they had forged. He spoke of their shared journey of healing, the comfort they had found in each other's company, the renewed sense of purpose they had discovered. He spoke of the importance of companionship, the power of connection, the healing that could be found in reaching out to others. The veterans listened intently, their faces reflecting a mix of empathy and understanding. They shared their own stories, their own struggles, their own moments of darkness and light. They spoke of the challenges of reintegrating into civilian life, the difficulty of coping with invisible wounds, the isolation that often accompanied their experiences. Jack listened with compassion, his heart aching for their pain, his own experiences resonating with their words. He realized that he wasn't alone in his struggles, that there were others who understood, who shared his burdens, who offered a sense of camaraderie and support. After the meeting, several veterans approached Jack, thanking him for sharing his story, expressing their gratitude for his honesty and vulnerability. They spoke of the hope he had given them, the inspiration he had provided, the reminder that healing was possible. Jack left the meeting with a renewed sense of purpose, a feeling of connection to a community he had long avoided. He realized that his story had touched others, had offered them a glimmer of hope, had reminded them that they weren't alone in their struggles. He also realized that Lucky had played a crucial role in his healing, not only through their individual bond but also through the ripple effect of kindness he had inspired. Lucky had become a symbol of hope, a furry ambassador of healing, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always the potential for connection, compassion, and recovery. The experience at the Veterans Support Group ignited a spark within Jack. He felt a calling, a need to share his story with others, to offer hope and support to those who were struggling with the invisible wounds of war. He realized that his journey with Lucky had not only brought him personal healing but also equipped him with a unique understanding of trauma and recovery. He began attending more support group meetings, sharing his experiences with candor and compassion. He spoke of the darkness he had faced, the loneliness, the guilt, the nightmares that had haunted him for years. He also spoke of the healing he had found through his connection with Lucky, the power of companionship, the importance of finding a purpose beyond the battlefield. His words resonated with the veterans, offering them a sense of validation and hope. They saw in Jack a reflection of their own struggles, a testament to the possibility of recovery. They were inspired by his resilience, his willingness to confront his demons, his dedication to helping others. Jack's reputation as a compassionate listener and a source of support grew within the veteran community. He became a sought-after speaker, sharing his story at conferences, workshops, and community events. He also started volunteering at a local VA hospital, offering companionship and support to veterans undergoing treatment for PTSD. He found a deep sense of fulfillment in this new mission. He realized that his experiences, once a source of pain and isolation, had become a source of strength and connection. He had found a way to transform his trauma into a catalyst for healing, not only for himself but also for others. Lucky remained his constant companion, a furry ambassador of hope and resilience. He often accompanied Jack to his speaking engagements and volunteer work, his presence offering a calming influence and a reminder of the healing power of connection. One day, while visiting the VA hospital, Jack met a young veteran named Mark, who had recently returned from Iraq. Mark was withdrawn and despondent, struggling with nightmares, flashbacks, and a deep sense of isolation. Jack sat with Mark, listening patiently as he shared his experiences. He recognized the signs of PTSD, the pain and confusion that mirrored his own early struggles. He shared his story with Mark, offering him a message of hope and resilience. He also introduced Mark to Lucky, who sensed the young veteran's distress and offered a comforting presence. Mark tentatively petted Lucky, his touch hesitant at first, then growing more confident as he felt the dog's warmth and gentle nature. Jack encouraged Mark to attend the veteran support group, assuring him that he would find a community of understanding and support. He also offered to meet with Mark individually to share coping strategies and offer encouragement. Mark, touched by Jack's compassion and inspired by his story, agreed to attend the support group and to meet with Jack regularly. He found solace in their shared experiences, a sense of camaraderie that he had longed for. Jack watched with pride as Mark began to heal, his smile returning, his eyes regaining their sparkle. He saw in Mark a reflection of his own journey, a testament to the power of connection and the enduring spirit of resilience. He realized that his mission extended beyond his own personal healing. He had become a beacon of hope for others, a guide on the path to recovery, and he knew that Lucky, his faithful companion, would continue to walk beside him, their bond a symbol of the transformative power of compassion and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Time, the relentless sculptor, continued to etch its passage on Jack's face, deepening the lines around his eyes and silvering his hair further. Yet, his spirit remained vibrant, fueled by his newfound purpose and the enduring bond with Lucky. The ranch, once a place of solitude and silent echoes, now resonated with a quiet contentment. Lucky, though aging himself, still greeted Jack with a wagging tail and enthusiastic barks each morning. Their days fell into a comfortable rhythm of walks through the meadows, visits to the VA hospital, and evenings spent by the fire, sharing stories and quiet companionship. Jack's work with the Veteran Support Group had blossomed into a full-fledged outreach program. With the help of other veterans and community members, he established a sanctuary for veterans with PTSD, a place where they could find solace in nature, connect with others who understood their struggles, and participate in therapeutic activities. The sanctuary, nestled amidst rolling hills and whispering pines, became a haven for healing and camaraderie. Veterans gathered there to share their stories, find support, and rediscover a sense of purpose. They participated in group therapy sessions, engaged in outdoor activities like hiking and fishing, and found comfort in the company of horses and other animals. Lucky, with his gentle nature and intuitive understanding of human emotions, became a beloved fixture at the sanctuary. He had an uncanny ability to sense those who were struggling, offering a comforting presence and a furry shoulder to lean on. Veterans who had long shied away from human interaction found themselves drawn to Lucky's warmth and unconditional love. One veteran, a young woman named Sarah who had served in Iraq, found solace in grooming Lucky. The rhythmic brushing and the quiet companionship soothed her anxieties and helped her reconnect with her own sense of calm. Another veteran, a middle-aged man named Tom who had served in Afghanistan, found peace in taking Lucky for long walks through the woods. The quiet companionship and the beauty of nature helped him silence the demons that haunted his mind. Jack watched with pride as the sanctuary flourished, becoming a beacon of hope and healing for veterans who had long suffered in silence. He saw the transformative power of connection, the resilience of the human spirit, and the enduring bond between humans and animals. He also witnessed the profound impact Lucky had on the veterans, his presence offering a unique form of therapy that transcended words. He realized that Lucky's legacy extended far beyond their personal bond, reaching out to touch the lives of countless others. As the years passed, Jack's own wounds continued to heal. The nightmares faded, the flashbacks became less frequent, and the guilt that had haunted him for decades began to dissipate. He found peace in the present, purpose in his work, and joy in the simple pleasures of life. He knew that he would never fully escape the shadows of his past, but he had learned to navigate them with grace and resilience. He had found a way to transform his trauma into a catalyst for healing, not only for himself but also for others. And he knew that Lucky, his faithful companion, would continue to walk beside him, their bond a testament to the enduring power of compassion, the transformative power of connection, and the unwavering strength of the human spirit.